Central Park didn't start out as the peaceful place we know today. Its early years were rough, uneven, and full of change. Before the lawns and paths took shape, the land held working communities, scattered homes, and a landscape that looked nothing like a park. This AI reconstruction walks through those early moments. This early structure in Central Park was known as the Music Pavilion, and it became a popular spot for concerts and public gatherings. The design feels ornate and almost delicate, with carved details and open arches that invited people to sit, relax, and listen. Central Park was still new in 1865, and places like this helped the city understand what the park could be. It offered New Yorkers a quiet break from crowded streets and gave them a place to enjoy music in the open air. Scenes like this show how the park began to take on its role as a shared retreat in the middle of the city. This early view shows the original rectangular reservoir in Central Park, a structure that didn't quite match the natural-look designers Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vos wanted for the park. The city needed the reservoir, so the designers had to work around it. They softened its appearance by planting trees and shaping the landscape to hide its sharp lines. A second reservoir with a more organic oval shape was added just north of it a few years later, which fit their vision much better. These choices show how the park's design evolved as its creators balanced beauty with practical needs. This photo shows the receiving reservoir, which stood on land that would later become part of Central Park. When it was built in the early 1840s, New York needed a reliable supply of clean drinking water, and this 31-acre basin helped store the fresh water brought in from upstate through the new Croton Aqueduct. The reservoir sat between 79th and 86th Streets and was already in use before anyone planned a park here. Its solid stone walls and wide open space gave the area a very different feel from the natural landscape Olmsted and Vaux would create years later. This early photograph shows Central Park before it grew into the busy, layered landscape we know today. The paths are wide and clean, the lawns look almost untouched, and the trees are still young. You can see how carefully the curves were shaped to guide visitors through the space without feeling rigid or planned. Olmsted and Vaux wanted the park to feel calm and open, and this scene captures that intention clearly. It's quiet, simple, and full of promise, showing the park right at the moment when New Yorkers were just starting to discover what it could become. This sketch captures the land that would one day become the south end of Central Park, long before anyone imagined it as a public escape. It feels quiet and a little rough, with bare trees, frozen ground, and a few people moving slowly across the ice. The small buildings in the distance remind you that this area was more countryside than city. It helps you see how dramatic the transformation would be just a decade later, when Olmsted and Vaux reshaped this rugged terrain into a designed landscape meant for crowds, not scattered farmhouses and winter fields. This drawing shows Central Park in the middle of its transformation, when the landscape was more construction site than retreat. Huge stretches of earth were torn open, rocks were moved, and workers carved out the paths and ponds we now take for granted. The city buildings in the distance remind you how close the growing metropolis was, even at this early stage. It's a rare view of the moment when Olmsted and Vaux's plan was beginning to take shape, long before the grass filled in and the trees matured. You can feel the scale of the work happening here. This illustration gives you a wide, almost dreamy look at Central Park just as it was beginning to take shape. The trees are young, the lawns are open, and the lakes sit quietly in the middle of the new landscape. From this height, you can see how the park was designed as a calm, green break in the middle of a growing city that was quickly filling every block. The straight lines of the streets fade into soft curves once they reach the park. It's a moment when the city and nature were learning how to live side by side. This drawing shows Oval Arch, a graceful cast-iron bridge that once sat near 61st Street and 7th Avenue. It was designed to keep walkers and horseback riders out of each other's way, which was a big part of how Olmsted and Vaux organized the park. The bridge had a light, almost delicate look, with those circular cutouts that made it stand out from the heavier stone arches you see today. The setting feels calm and wooded, which makes it easy to imagine how peaceful this corner of the park once was. The arch didn't last, though. Robert Moses removed it in the 20th century to make room for a larger playground, now the Heckscher Ball Fields. This illustration shows Mount St. Vincent, a quiet corner of early Central Park that looked more like a countryside estate than part of a growing city. The building you see here was originally a convent and school, set on a gentle rise surrounded by open lawns and scattered trees. When the park was being developed, the structure was reused for a short time as a museum and visitor space. The scene feels spacious and calm, with long stretches of land that were still settling into the designer's plan. It's a reminder that much of Central Park began as a patchwork of older structures and open terrain before the landscape we know today took shape. This chromolithograph shows Central Park at a moment when it had fully settled into the peaceful, storybook landscape Olmsted and Vaux imagined. The scene feels relaxed and social. People gather for picnics beneath the trees, while others drift along the water in a small rowboat. The bridge in the distance adds a gentle touch of ornament, without overwhelming the space, and the warm sunset softens everything around it. The park looks lush and mature here, as if it had always been part of the city. This photo captures an unusual moment in New York's history. It was taken on December 16, 1949, during what the city called Dry Friday, a day when residents were asked to avoid using water because a severe drought had left the reservoirs dangerously low. The three women in the image were Copacabana dancers, and the idea was to show them pitching in by washing clothes at the edge of the park's reservoir. The whole scene feels both staged and sincere. This painting shows Central Park at a time when it had become one of the city's favorite places to spend a calm afternoon. The scene is full of life. Carriages roll along the drives, riders move at an easy pace, and families gather near the water to take in the view. The landscape feels open and carefully shaped, with soft hills, winding paths, and clusters of trees that guide the eye toward the bridge in the distance. Everything here reflects the park's purpose in the 19th century, a place where New Yorkers could step away from the noise of the streets and enjoy a bit of fresh air, whether they arrived on foot, horseback, or in a carriage. This photograph captures a side of Central Park that most people never imagine. Before the park was fully developed, parts of the land were home to small settlements like this one near 5th Avenue and 101st Street. The buildings look rough and improvised, made from scrap wood and whatever materials people could gather. It feels more like a rural worksite than a future piece of Manhattan's most famous green space. Central Park has been rebuilt, reimagined, and refined for more than a century. But its early story is still written into the ground if you know where to look. The images in this AI reconstruction remind us that the park wasn't born iconic. It became that way through steady work, bold planning, and the people who shaped it along the way. Thanks for coming along on this walk through the past. I hope it helps you see the park with a little more depth the next time you step inside it.